Hello, and welcome to Health is the Key, a podcast that explores the health and wellness issues that matter to 1199 SEIU healthcare workers. I'm your host, Elizabeth Moore. For many, the most wonderful time of the year can feel anything but. A 2023 study found that 89% of those surveyed said concerns such as finances, personal loss, and family conflicts stress them out during the holidays. So if the holiday season is leaving you feeling more frazzled than festive, we think you're going to be glad you tuned in today. Joining us is Dr. Karinn Glover, Assistant Professor of Psychiatry at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Dr. Glover will help us examine why the season stirs up so many emotions and share tips to reclaim some comfort and joy. Welcome to Health is the Key, Dr. Glover.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
We're glad to have you. So how prevalent is holiday stress? I mean, the survey found that 89% are stressed out. Is it safe to say that most people experience holiday stress?
Everybody experiences the holidays in a different way, and a lot of it comes down to all the other things that are happening during the holidays as well. Context matters. For some people, it's the experience of having your current holidays be so different and having a sense of loss and being reminded of folks who maybe have passed on or who are no longer in your life. So there can be a lot going on. I think also in society, there is often a pressure to have a certain kind of holiday season, making sure it looks a certain way and feels a certain way. And that's not always realistic for everybody. So there's often the task of accepting kind of where you are, where your family is, how they're doing, and accepting that they may be different from whatever norm is being presented to you, even though that norm is often artificial and not always healthy.
I think it's also important to point out that it's in the eye of the beholder, and you may think, oh gosh, what I'm going through is nothing compared to what others are going, but it really depends on what matters to you and how it affects. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution.
Absolutely not. I think in the case of holiday seasons, right, you start off perhaps thinking, okay, I have kids, I have loved ones, and I'm going to make it look like this, right? And then, of course, your loved ones respond to your invitations and they say, oh, I don't eat whatever you're serving anymore. My whole family, we've become vegetarians and vegans, and what else do you have on the menu, right? I think coming to terms with the changes in family relationships, the changes in your loved ones, and adjusting, again, can leave you feeling kind of lonely, kind of unfulfilled, and again, you've got to pivot and be able to find out what matters the most to you and make sure that is in some ways independent of the needs and the wants and the changes that other people are going through.
Mm-hmm. And you had said earlier that there is a pressure to feel the way everybody else is feeling. And even if you are caught up in the hustle bustle, which you enjoy, how do you know when it tips over into more than just merriment and it tips into real stress?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that comes up a lot during the holidays is a lot of people really experience terrible grief. We've been through COVID. We've got multiple wars on multiple continents happening right now. So if you've got loved ones who are in the armed forces and you are maybe worried about them, you may feel like you're very vulnerable. I think it's important to acknowledge and give yourself space and time to process whatever anxiety you're feeling. So when you notice that you're not sleeping well, and maybe you're drinking more than usual, or you've got cravings for substances, kind of out of nowhere, right? And if you notice you're not as effective at work because you're preoccupied with anxiety or feeling low and hopeless around this time of year, I think it's important to feel a sense of acceptance of those emotions, and to also feel motivated to get help, because help is out there and it can be very effective for getting you through the holiday season.
And that's so important what you said, to accept the way you're feeling, because many of us may feel I have to put on a happy face for everyone. And just to be with where you are is very important and starts the healing process for stress during the holidays.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to recognize there's a range of ways you can cope with the emotions that are coming up. So for some people, it's exercise. So if some people have time in their schedule or create time in their schedule to simply do some yoga stretches at home, do some Pilates at home, just to stay grounded and in your body and give your body the stress relief that it needs so that you can sustain yourself through the holidays. And so then, of course, I recognize the weather changes. It gets dark earlier here in the Northern Hemisphere during the holiday season. And so you may not feel safe going outside for a walk, even though your body needs that walk to decrease your stress level. So that's where doing an at-home workout can be super helpful, or making plans with a friend or a walking buddy, because one of the main coping skills that I think we always talk about is being able to embrace a mind-body approach to stress management. And if that's not working, that's when you may need to talk with a therapist just to sort of get a handle on whatever's coming up for you so that it just doesn't overwhelm you when you're at work or with the family events that you're so much looking forward to.
And self-care is so important. And I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit because people say, it's the holidays. How do I have time for self-care? So how do you work it in? I love the idea of like simple yoga stretches. It doesn't have to be a full class. It could be some, bits and pieces. So
yeah, I'm a bits and pieces kind of gal when it comes to exercise because, I don't always have an hour and a half to 2 hours to sweat really hard and then got to get home and do my hair. And right, 'cause I'm African American, and so our hair, I'm a Black woman, hair is very important to us. And so I understand that sometimes hair it can be an obstacle to heavy exercise. So all that to say, bits and pieces do work. Bits and pieces like a 20 minutes of just getting on your yoga mat if you have one, doing it on the rug. I don't care. Doing it on a chair. They have chair yoga. That exists. That's a thing.
We have classes.
See?
Online
Amazing.
classes.
There's online classes for real? See. Can I log in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is fantastic. So the idea is like you do what you can where you are because your body is going to always receive it. Your body is always going to benefit from it. Those aches, those pains, whatever you've got, a little bit of arthritis, all of that benefits from exercise and a good stretch. So bits and pieces, if that's what you got, do it.
I think that answers the question, too, about perfectionism during the holiday, trying to make it the best holiday ever, making the food perfect, the decorations, the gifts. And you want to do the best exercise to get you out of the holiday blues. So how do you fight perfectionism? How do you talk yourself down?
Yeah. So first, identifying it, right? Because we don't wake up in the morning and say, today I'm going to be perfect at everything. I think all of us know like that to say that is sort of a fool's errand and that it's a setup. It's a scam. But what we do say is like, oh, but I wanted it to look like this and I wanted my outfit to look like that. And I never seem to get it right. And I never, right? Your mind starts to go to absolutes. That is perfectionism. Even though you haven't used the word perfect or perfection, that is perfectionism. So recognizing that the way that you are talking to yourself, if it comes down to absolutes, if the conversation in your head is the ways that you didn't measure up to the expectations you had, you're moving in the direction of perfectionism. So let's just think about ways we can move the needle back. And so to me, the answer for perfectionism is a gratitude practice. And so that means taking a moment and putting both feet on the floor and literally just getting grounded in where you are and thinking about what is right, what is good, what is something that you hadn't noticed, right? Because what I start to think about is when my hair doesn't look right for that picture, and everybody loves the picture, but I can see that my hair didn't look right or my posture was weird. And I start to think like, oh, Karinn, there you go again. And then, right, I pause and I'm like, you know what? That was a wonderful day and a wonderful moment. I'm so glad I had those moments with those people. Yes, the picture, I did not make the cover of Essence, but I had a wonderful time with those people and my heart is full. And that's enough, right? I created wonderful memories for myself. We laughed extremely hard. I got my endorphins. I got my dopamine. That's the point. And so that's what I try to focus on rather than the ways that I didn't measure up.
And I think that's so important because studies have shown that gratitude, practicing daily gratitude, has physical and emotional benefits. And trying to focus on the positive when you're dealing with a lot of stress. People think you can't do it, but you can. You can push through and force yourself to think of one good thing that happened today. And,
absolutely, right? I remember like when I was a kid, I would hear people in church and they would say, thank God I just woke up this morning. And I was like, that's not really an accomplishment. But maybe we need to take a moment and not even think in terms of accomplishments. Maybe the point is you just are where you are, right? And then from there, right? One thing I've done with my patients, and I do it to myself sometimes, is when I am feeling overwhelmed, again, I practice a grounding exercise where I just look around and I see all the colors that are in the room or the textures, and I just think like, how wonderful is it that I can touch, I can feel, I can recognize these colors. I have a specific essential oil that I love. So I put geranium oil. So we're getting into like my aromatherapy practice. But I have all these scents that sort of lift my mood and are sometimes a thunderclap of clarity and of a good shift in attitude. And so I try to strategically place these scents around my home, on my body, and in my purse so that I am reminded of my access to feeling good, and they come from various kinds of pleasures.
And those are such small things that I love. They're so easy to do. I always have a Christmas candle. I always have an evergreen Christmas candle burning that I burn in August.
I love that.
And it's just, there are little tiny things you can do that you may not notice it right away, but you will feel better.
Yeah. So I think about the hustle and bustle of the holiday season, how you're on the subway, you're on public transportation, you may be on there with folks who are not doing very well, and so you end up feeling like, like I had such a terrible subway ride, I'm just going to go take my shower, wash the day off me, and get in the fetal position and eat a pint of Haagen-Dazs. So that's one option, right? But the idea is maybe give yourself some other pleasurable reminders and of just like the good things. So when it comes to taking a shift away from the vibe of the day, if the vibe was exhausting, it's maybe using a favorite soap, burning your favorite candle, and having access to the foods that make you feel good. And so if you know that like you have to eat your vegetables and you want to make sure that you're nourished, right? Take time out of your schedule, say no to whoever needs to be said no to, so that you can pick those treasured, inexpensive things that will sustain you. Get the candle, get the $6 bottle of essential oil, sprinkle it in the shower, make your whole bathroom smell like a garden, and allow that to kind of take you away from some of the stress of the times we are living through.
Well, those sound like great strategies that anyone can try. So if there's one thing you could leave with our listeners about dealing with holiday stress, or maybe your favorite holiday technique to get through the hustle bustle, what would it be?
So I think it's twofold for me. One is that there's so many ways to do holiday seasons, right? So If you're single, you get to have a holiday season. If you are married, you get to have a holiday season. If you have a whole bunch of kids, you get to have a holiday, right? Like, I want to go into like my Oprah mode. Like, you get a car, you get a holiday season, and you get to have it the way you want. So I practice mindfulness. And so one of the ways that I get through difficult situations is that I try to be very aware of the thoughts I'm having, but I don't hold on to them. So think about when you're walking through a big department store and you're on that level of the department store floor where there's all the perfume people, and they come up to you and they want to spray you up with perfume. Try this, try this. What do? You look at that person, you nod, you acknowledge their humanity, but then you keep on going, right? So I just pretend that those thoughts, or I treat those thoughts like they're the perfume person at Macy's. I nod, I recognize the thought, but I keep on going. So I let them pass by. So if you want to practice that, I highly recommend it. You may become more aware of the ways that you are judging yourself. You may also respectfully recognize the ways that people in your life and your family may be judging you. And you can handle them like the perfume people at Macy's. You just nod and say, I hear you. I'm doing well though. and just say, things are good. So mindfulness. No matter how your holidays look, I think a gratitude practice can be super helpful, and also being very intentional about giving yourself the inexpensive, wonderful things that have the potential to shift your mood and restore you. The right foods, the right smells, the right amount of sleep, getting the rest you need. And if you need help, being able to ask for it and hopefully get it.
That is great. So everyone's entitled to their own holiday?
Practicing radical acceptance goes a long way.
Well, thank you so much. And we want to wish you a very happy holiday season. And thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tune in later this month to our December keynote to hear Dr. Glover's take on how to self-care after the holidays are over. For more information on what you heard today, please check our show notes. And remember, subscribe to Health is the Key wherever you get your podcasts. This podcast and its content are presented solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. The information and opinions provided on this podcast are not intended as legal or medical advice and do not constitute or serve as a substitute for professional medical or psychological treatment, diagnosis, therapy, or other types of professional intervention.